Alright YouTube, perhaps a fairly quick video update here on what O'Keefe has said he's going to release. On Monday, he's promising part 3 of rigging the election. He's also talking right now about being censored by YouTube. I can't vouch for knowing whether that's true or not. Sometimes YouTube's algorithms convince people that they're being censored, and in reality it's just because their system can't handle viral videos quite as well sometimes. It's happened to me before, honestly. It used to be worse. It used to be videos froze at 302 views for almost 24 hours before it would show the real results. No matter whether it was a popular video or not, by the way, it made no difference. It's just it had to process all that crap and run it through algorithms and all that sort of stuff. But O'Keefe has now tweeted, link in the description, that Clinton is personally involved in the infiltration of Trump rallies, as of course we know from the words of Fovel and Bob Creamer and others in his investigative journalism on the subject. We know that the Democratic operatives working loosely with the DNC were attempting to cause violence at Trump's rallies. The Chicago riots that actually tipped the state of Illinois and probably Missouri in Trump's favor during the primaries, those were caused by infiltrators. They weren't caused by Trump fans. They were caused by people who were literally hired. Apparently, according to Fovel, some of them were probably mentally ill individuals. They were hired to go there and antagonize the crowd and try to start a fight. And even a lot of people who I know to be, at least begrudgingly, supporting Hillary Clinton do think that this is odd. But now he's promising that Hillary herself was directly aware of this fact. Then we have, at the same time that this is going to be dropping early next week, we have WikiLeaks saying they have a surprise for Tim Kaine and Donna Brazile. I've already spoken about that. I think it's going to be highly damaging. I wouldn't be surprised if it leads to Donna Brazile's resignation. Of course, the DNC, you've got to realize Donna Brazile's the third person to head it so far in this election, because Debbie Wasserman Schultz and then that other woman who lasted literally less than 48 hours both had to resign because they were implicated in scandal. It's clear that the various heads that have been in the DNC are willing to take the fall to try to buffer the impact. Of course, this supposedly involves Tim Kaine, so maybe it's a proof that he too was aware of the fact that WikiLeaks was right, the Podesta emails are real, and that Fovel and Creamer were involved in this sort of weird crap. But O'Keefe is promising a video showing that Hillary, directly or indirectly, was completely aware of the fact that this infiltration was going on. That would make it an order of magnitude more damaging. Now, I've been closely monitoring the polling that's been happening, and I'm convinced that there's been a huge swing of support in favor of Trump. I don't think Clinton is measurably ahead at this point. Again, I ignore the NBC, CNN sort of crap polls because they're obviously biased in their methodology. All the other firms are showing at best a +4 Clinton advantage, which is to say a fairly mediocre advantage, one that can be fairly easily overcome if she continues to get hit by scandals. Rasmussen, which I kind of discount, LA Times, IBD, are all showing Trump tied her up. At this point, I think that's a fairly good indicator the race has narrowed considerably. And most of it, I estimate, has to do with O'Keefe and WikiLeaks' work. I do not think that the Russia line has continued to work very well. I think that Donna Brazile is perhaps the worst enemy of the Democratic Party right now as well because of her refusal to answer these questions, and perhaps because of Hillary's inability to answer half the questions she was given at the debate. I think people are beginning to question the veracity of the Democratic Party when they claim that the WikiLeaks emails are either falsified or stolen and you shouldn't read them because Russian conspiracies, and that O'Keefe's material was selectively edited. Because so far, nobody in the lamestream media, the actual legacy media, has even come out to claim that that material was doctored. They've said, oh, well, he's doctored stuff in the past, so, you know, in full disclosure, warning to the viewer of this material. But nobody's actually claiming that this particular footage is doctored. Probably because it's not. It's fairly clear that it's not. So you have part 3 of rigging the election, which, if it contains that, if it shows, yeah, here's Hillary talking about the infiltration, or here's somebody who claims and would know in their claim, oh yeah, Hillary's aware of this, she gave the green light. That'd be pretty bad for her campaign. Because even while that type of infiltration is technically not illegal, unless you're telling someone, oh, go punch somebody at a Trump rally, Of course, it's not illegal to say, "Oh, go and antagonize people." Antagonism is not illegal. You could say, "Oh, well, you're just trying to start a riot, knowing full well that could happen." Well, that would apply specifically, according to what I'm seeing on that tape, to Creamer and Fovel and people like that, rather than the actual infiltrators themselves. But if people become aware that, yeah, Clinton's aware this is going on and that this particularly underhanded, if not illegal, campaign tactic is being employed with her blessing, especially since how would she become aware of this? That either means that she gave the go-ahead herself, or she at the very least gave the green light to the suggestion made by Fovel or Creamer or somebody like that. That would also technically prove that indeed the Clinton campaign is in direct communication with PACs, which is illegal. It's actually a violation of campaign law. That would probably be worse than the public becoming aware that she was involved directly with the infiltration of the Trump rallies. The entire media, even CNN, had to speak about this. It was almost surreal to watch this, because CNN is known as the Clinton News Network for a reason. And they're up there, on their broadcast, and they're saying, well, all through the primaries, we were casting Trump fans as violent and despicable and causing fights and so forth, and now it comes out that, yeah, indeed, probably it wasn't even them that were starting the violence. It was a bunch of agent provocateurs, and you could see on the looks on their faces. They looked surprised. They actually looked legitimately bewildered, as though they never could have guessed that it was even a possibility before, as though all of their hopes and dreams had suddenly been crushed and they couldn't believe what just happened. I'm not surprised. I think honestly, a lot of these people in the legacy media are probably dumb enough to be partisan and actually trust Hillary Clinton. It's not that that every single person there has been paid off. The heads have, maybe some of the career pundits that are really popular. You'd think of somebody like Cooper getting a kickback of a few million to only provide positive coverage. All the little sort of poop-butt pundits there, the lesser individuals who don't drive quite as much viewership, I don't think any of them were aware. I don't think any of them were made aware of any of this going on. And so they were legitimately surprised and couldn't believe what they were hearing. Just think about their reaction. If CNN itself and all these other news networks, even if they gloss it over just a little bit, and they did, if they were forced to report on it before, when it didn't directly implicate Hillary at all or any specific higher-ups, and it was just, oh, well, these Democratic operatives are claiming that there's busing going on, that there's infiltration going on, that they're trying to start violence to cast Trump as a violent candidate. Just imagine their bemusement when they realized that Hillary Clinton herself was aware of this going on and maybe even encouraged it directly. Oh man, it'll be a field day. It'll be all they'll talk about for hours. I have hope. I do honestly have hope that they're beginning to realize what Clinton is really like to a greater degree, and that no amount of money she's given them will keep them in collusion with her any longer. If that happens, her campaign breaks down because she no longer has the protection of the legacy media. What she would be forced to do is spend the last few weeks disappearing entirely. She wouldn't really be campaigning. She certainly wouldn't be taking press questions because she could no longer rely upon them not hardballing her. In which case, I predict she won't even show her face. She'll be notably absent. People will chalk it up to illness, but it'll have nothing, trust me, to do with illness. And that will begin to degrade her campaign, if O'Keefe is telling the truth here. And, let me reiterate it once again, he hasn't let me down. His first video was more damaging than I expected it to be. Number 2 was almost a knockout punch, honestly, if the polls are any indication. And keep in mind, these polls are presumably cooked, and they're still showing significant movement. We've got early voting results from Wisconsin showing Trump up by 10 points in early voting there. If that's true, we might be seeing a November surprise of, oh, Wisconsin unexpectedly goes for Donald Trump, just like it unexpectedly went for Cruz, because the sort of invisible apparatus of talk radio that's so popular there was propping Cruz up. And so even though Trump was about even with him in the polling, and it looked like he'd probably pull off a win because he was rising, Trump ended up losing by, I think, 12 points or something like that. You could see a situation where there's 10 points or more of final movement during the voting away from Hillary Clinton in a state like Wisconsin. And if that's replicated elsewhere, even in only maybe 1 or 2 other states, gives Trump the election. It would be very difficult for her to win if she loses the state of Wisconsin, because it's not clear how she can cobble together 270 votes. And you'd think if it's going to happen there, in a state that's, leans pretty blue in the last few cycles, certainly in a state like Florida that's more competitive, or maybe even Pennsylvania, which in this election looks like it's slightly less blue than Wisconsin, there's the chance of a Trump win there. I see good things happening for Trump right now. I don't see bad things happening at all. People who say, oh, well, it's up, he can't make up the lost ground, she's going to win by like 370 electoral points or something. I don't think so. Honestly, if that were true, if she were winning that handily, why wouldn't she be talking to the captive media that she's already paid off? Oh, we're having a great time. Yeah, my opponent's basically dead in the water. Let me tell you some more about my plan. Because she's afraid of making a mistake and implicating herself because she knows the kind of dirt that's out there. That's at least what I have come to believe. So O'Keefe is promising in part 3 we're going to get to hear Hillary Clinton personal involvement in this infiltration, and he's still, by the way, he's still got a tape, supposedly, and I have no reason to doubt him anymore. Trust me, especially if this one comes through on Monday and it's really heavy hitting, I'll no longer doubt him. I'm going to assume that he has a video of Hillary Clinton putting on a Klan robe or something like that. And he hasn't let me down so far. In fact, he's exceeded my personal expectations. WikiLeaks is way out in front of where I thought they'd be. I didn't expect them to drop this many individual scandals. I expected there'd be 2 or 3 good emails somewhere hidden in the Podesta files that people would dig out, and they'd be kind of damaging and make people raise their eyebrows at Clinton a little bit. I never expected it to be literally dozens of different scandals. We've got Moroccan quid pro quo. We've got pay-to-play at the Clinton Foundation during her tenure as Secretary of State. We've got Podesta questioning if she even knows where she is, along with another aide. We've got Huma Abedin ranting about Morocco and acting like she's aware that Clinton's off her rocker at the time. We've got Chelsea Clinton being called a spoiled brat. We've got Colin Powell saying that Bubba Bill is still dicking bimbos on the side and so forth. It's a never-ending treasure trove. It's a parade of stupidity that we're seeing from the Clinton campaign. And her reaction thus far has been, oh, I just won't talk about it at all. Anytime she's questioned about any of this stuff, she doesn't even answer the question. She didn't during the debates. She didn't on the tarmac. The last time she had a press conference, I think yesterday, she ignored the question regarding the emails, the Podesta emails. She's going to keep ignoring them. And that's not going to inspire public confidence. She's content to believe that she's cast her opponent as a World War III starting monster, evil bigot, Nazi, xenophobe, and that will keep enough people from voting for him to give her the election. I'm wondering whether that will actually turn out to be true. If I were her, I would not be optimistic about her chances, especially when WikiLeaks now is also saying, oh, Donna Brazil will probably have to resign after our next leak. And O'Keefe's saying the same thing. If you got 2 things implicating Brazil at the same time, well, now you have to hire a 4th DNC head during the campaign. You're on number 4 during a single election, and you're saying that the DNC isn't corrupt? I would beg to differ at that point. It seems a little bit conspicuous. What about this mysterious stuff on Tim Kaine that WikiLeaks claims it has? What if the running mate, not even Clinton herself, what if the running mate gets totally ass-blasted by scandal? What if it turns out he's a total shitfuck and even the Democrats can't deny it? Will that change some of their minds? Some of them, yeah, indeed it will. Because he's, the person who potentially takes over if Clinton has another major health scare while in office, under the most stressful job in the world, which tends to cause plenty of health problems. Our former presidents have a tendency to die of strokes and heart attacks. They don't usually die of natural causes. That's for a reason. Because they have to ponder all of these big words on all these sheets of paper, and they have to go meet with everybody, and, they travel around the world. You get sick potentially a lot anyway. One wisest thing Obama ever said was something he heard from the retarded George W. Bush about hand sanitizer. Probably a pretty good idea, honestly, when you're shaking people's hands all day, every day. That's about all. Peace out.